Hey guys, Stanley here with Flat Out Hero, and we're just going to have a little discussion. And I'll let you. Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I can hear you echoing.
Okay, there we go. I had the video playing. So what you got, man? What you got for me?
Well, let's start on basically being able to agree on a few things. Like you and I can both agree that the Earth is supposedly 25,000 miles in circumference.
Yeah.
All right. So then we can also agree that if it is that, I'm sure you can agree that if it is that, then there should be a curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we go to the Earth curve calculator, do you agree that the Pythagorean theorem or the Earth curve calculator is accurate?
Yeah, I have a calculator that I use. It pretty much aligns with the Metabunk calculator, which is pretty easy to use. So you can use that one.
I'm talking about like the Earth curve calculator.
You're talking about Metabunk's Earth curve calculator. Which one are you referring to?
I don't know if they use it, but it's the Pythagorean theorem. It's the 1500-year-old math that's always been right so far.
It's not strictly based on the Pythagorean theorem. There's a bunch of ways to solve for it. I use trig. I use a slightly different method than the Metabunk calculator, but we arrive at the same numbers.
Okay, well as long as your numbers match the Earth curve calculator, then we can both agree that all right, that's accurate. Then. Um, so basically, my question to you is, if we can agree on that much, then what is your response to the world record Guinness Book of World Records longest distance photograph, which was taken at 273 miles with the height of perspective included? Like you put it into the Earth curve calculator, it's 3.7 miles below the horizon. If I remember correctly.
I don't know all the numbers on the world record, but as I recall, he was pretty high. And
Yeah.
when you start factoring in the height of the person and how much of the object is actually visible, usually matches pretty dead on with the globe model.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can go ahead and look for yourself. Look at the Guinness Book of World Records. All the heights included, the distances included. It's 273 miles. Uh, unless there's been a farther one that I don't know of, but uh, I'm not exactly the sure of the height of the observer. But if you you know what, I could find that real quick actually. Brand new
They're,
laptop.
they're asking me to boost your volume. Is my volume good, Squeaker Alpha?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Squeaker Alpha's asked me to turn your volume up a little bit. Squeaker, can you hear him now? Is it better now?
Can you hear me now? No.
My volume's fine. And what about his volume now, Squeaker Alpha? I can hear him fine. Are you guys hearing him? Say something flat out.
Hey, can you hear me now? How about now? What about now? Can you hear me now? I'm tired of hearing myself talk. Can you hear me now?
Let me see.
Sorry.
What's that? I could hear something, but I'm not sure what it was.
There we go.
All right, now you're faded, but if everybody can hear me, that's cool. Sound check 1, 2. Can you hear me now? How about now?
Okay, I was just listening on the live to see how your volume was. I think I got it now. It's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know all the numbers for the long distance record.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Lower now, they're asking me to lower my volume. Okay, I got his cranked all the way up, and mine's about a quarter of the way up.
Was it at even before?
Yeah, it started off both of us halfway. All right, so anyway, yeah, it's Google Hangouts. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think I've got it balanced out now. I just need some feedback from people in the chat telling me if it's better.
Yeah, if you guys can hear me now, good. If not, let them know. But yeah, no, I'm gonna get it right now. But for sake of argument, if I'm right and the letters or the numbers do not match up to the globe, then what would your response be? Because I know it's gonna go in the direction of refraction. So.
Quarters is saying he literally can't hear you. Hold on, give me 1 second to test this on. I'm going to listen to the stream again. Hold on.
All right.
Okay, give me one more mic check and let me test on the live again.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Everybody hear me now? How about now? If you can hear me, I can't hear you.
Okay, it seems about right to me now. So, I mean, I pretty much think I got our volumes equal, so people should be able to turn their volumes up.
Well, I'm sure they'll let us know.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, I got the sound as good as I can get it, guys. I got my mic pretty much like all the way to the bottom and his all the way up, so that's as good as I can balance it. It's shite soundly.
Really? I don't know. Is it something on my end or what? Because I just turned on my volume.
I think it's Google Hangouts screwing up because whenever I go to YouTube and play it, I can hear it just fine. Do one more mic check. Let me test.
Yeah. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. 1 2. Mic check. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1
Okay.
2.
All right. Okay. It's good enough. That's as good as we're gonna get it. I can't. I literally can't tweak the knobs anymore. I've boosted him all the way up, so I got to roll with it just the way it is. I guess just talk closer to your mic if you can.
Oh, okay. Well, what's it called? If you, how about you repeat my question then?
You were asking if the numbers don't work out, which is a hypothetical question. I've never seen the numbers not work out. I've observed looming and sinking. So, I mean, there's obviously atmospherics involved whenever it comes to long distances for sure. But in general, yeah, I mean, the numbers work out and certainly within range.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they don't, then what would your response be?
I don't know. I'd have to see all the specifics. It probably would have something to do with refraction. But I mean, I have thousands of observations that all map to the globe. So, I mean,
yeah,
one anomaly isn't, strong evidence.
Well, I mean, you think about it, like that's all one needs, really. Like just one of the proofs to be legit for the ball to pop. Like if
Well,
there
I
was
mean,
if any of them,
present. I mean, I guess present your argument. Let's talk about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
What are all the specifics? What are all the what's the distances? What's the heights of the observer? The height of the target?
That's what I'm looking for right now. It's my first time using this laptop, and it doesn't have any of my stuff saved on it. Why isn't that coming up? That's weird, man. Like, just not giving me the. It's not giving me the Guinness Book of World Records any distance, any photograph.
What's the name of the observation? Who took it?
I'm not sure who took it. It was a 273 mile photograph of a mountain. I can't believe that isn't coming up. When you type in the world record for longest distance photograph, what comes up for you?
Let me see. Searching long distance photography record, I get Pic de Fenestrellas.
Yeah, that one. That's weird. It's not coming up at all for mine.
Let's see. Beyond Horizons has an article on it. How far did you say?
273 miles.
Here it is. There was a couple of them. It's here. I'll paste it to you in the Hangout.
Yeah.
You want to send it to the Hangout? I'll send it to the side chat of our Hangout.
All right.
I'll also send it to the public chat, and I'll put it in our green chat as well.
I think I'd have to click out of this to see it though. But what does it say that the height of the observer was?
I'm actually not seeing that in this article. I'm sure he's at a known peak.
What's the name of it? It's PIC.
There it is. Taken from Pic de Fenestrellas. I guess that's how you pronounce that. Looks like 2,820 meters was the observer height.
So yeah, if you plug that into the Earth curve calculator, and then you see how much of the object should be hidden, it should be hidden by that much.
Refracted hidden is 3,000 816 meters.
Well, give me a damage. If you're gonna call it refraction, you gotta first prove that refraction acts in that way, because there's no other way that you can demonstrate that refraction acts in that way. You can't get an image to bounce around anything. You can do it maybe in water, but you can't.
Refraction definitely happens, and we know how it happens. It happens whenever light is traveling through a medium of different densities, which our atmosphere is.
So then we should be able to see everything from around there, instead of just the mountain. Like it's not like, and light doesn't curve. Light goes in straight lines. Like if it were to be being refracted from we've never seen refraction curve. If you want to say that it's refraction, give me an instance where you can demonstrate that it curves.
Have you seen the Little Texas Bayou experiment?
No.
Okay. Well, I can show you that real quick. So just to stay on topic and finish, or at least kind of fill in the gaps here a little bit, it looks like Barra de Ecrins, whatever that is 4,102 meters. And the Earth curve calculator says that 3,816 of it would be hidden. So it should be visible based on the Earth curve calculator.
So it's saying that 1,000 feet of it should be visible?
It's saying that what's that, 4,100? I'm trying to figure it out. It's the first time I've looked at this, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking at here. Hold on.
The Earth curve calculator?
So the furthest peak you can see is called Peak Gaspard, and that's 443 kilometers away. So that's the 270. I think that works out 275 actually. And so that peak is 3,867 meters tall.
3,000 what? 600?
3,867 meters tall.
Okay.
The Earth curve calculator says that 3,816 at standard refraction should be hidden. So that works out to what, 54 meters about. That's visible.
Let's see. Yeah, okay. So what's 15 meters?
Say that again.
15 meters, 1,500 meters.
It was the peak itself is 3,867. If you believe the annotations on this, 3,867. Okay. And the Earth curve, the Metabunk Earth curve calculator says that let's go ahead and round up. 3,817 meters should be hidden based on standard refraction. So that's 50 meters visible.
I can't hear you. It keeps on blanking out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's about 50 meters that should be visible based on standard refraction.
50, right?
50 meters.
Standard refraction, that's standard curved refraction, but I guess we'll get back to that. But so there's 50, so you're supposed to see an object that only 150 feet of an object that is 273 miles away, Mike. And you can see you can see every mountain in the range. It's just that one. It's all the mountains. Like if you look at them, like it's not just
there are closer and taller peaks that are also visible. Yeah.
No, yeah. There's all the mountains are visible.
All right, let's share so that I'll share my screen so that we can look at it.
Yeah. You just got perspective dictates that it's going to get smaller as it goes away. Like the object as it gets farther from you, it's going to appear to be smaller. So if it took 150 feet of it, that would be a tiny little image on a 273 mile. Like you see what a zoom camera can do. That's 273 miles that it's looking at something, and you can see the whole image of the whole backdrop of it. Like there's You know.
So this is the
Is it-
image. This is the image right here, and you can. It looks like you can barely make out this peak right here. That's the furthest peak. And you have some closer peaks that are visible as well.
Yeah. See all the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the heights of the other ones? What's
2,758 meters, 2,627 meters, 2,584 meters, 2,453 meters.
how much is supposed to be hidden?
Oh, you want me to work out each of these?
I'm just wondering, like, how much is supposed to be hidden?
Here's the refracted hidden right here.
It's
3,816 meters.
okay,
At that distance, at the distance of 443 kilometers. But if you're looking at these other peaks, if you're looking at these other peaks, you're going to have to change their distance.
Yeah, but okay, so let's just say that one that was the shortest peak, the 2,400 or whatever. Can you tell what the distance is to that one?
The shortest peak is 2,367 meters.
And what's the distance?
And the distance is, let me go back to that. Distance is 386 kilometers.
Okay.
So let me put 386 kilometers in here. And the refracted hidden is 2,209 meters.
Okay. 2,209.
So it should still be visible.
Okay. 2,200. How many feet of it? Like, you got to realize you're about a 15 foot, tall peak that you're seeing the backdrop of at 273 miles. Like, there's no way.
Well, we just ran the calculations, and the calculations say it should be visible. So then you put a telephoto lens on it, and you see it.
All right. Well, do you have one that has a filter?
To have one what?
That has a filter on it? Did they publish any that had a different filter on it?
What do you mean by different filter?
Well, and didn't you just say if you put a different filter on it, it'd be different?
No, you put a telephoto lens on it. You put a lens that can zoom in really far, like the P900 or a telescope or something like that.
Yeah.
Longer focal length lenses are called telephotos.
Yeah. No, like that. Well, I mean, that's a whole other subject entirely. But all right, we know that the Chicago skyline is out of view, right?
What about Chicago skyline? You want to go to Chicago skyline?
Yeah, we can jump to. Well, I mean, it's still part of the first one, but Chicago skyline, like, you can agree that that one is supposed to be hidden by curvature, right?
Yeah, it is hidden by curvature.
Well, how can you see it?
Refraction.
Okay, there we go. Now
refraction or observer height.
All right. Well, can you give me an instance of refraction that shows curving? You mentioned something earlier.
Yeah, I can actually. This is a pretty good website. You ought to go check it out. Walter Bislin. I suggest everybody go check out Walter Bislin's website. He has a lot of demonstrations, including Chicago. But I'll show you the Little Tensas Bayou experiment. Let's see real quick. Let me open up a new one over here.
Tensas Bayou?
All right, so this is a time lapse. Let me get to the time lapse of the Little Tensas Bayou experiment. And when it goes into nighttime here, we have these lamps that are actually positioned on the pylons.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah, and you can see the lamps go up and down.
Okay.
They're moving.
Yeah.
That's because the light is refracting in different ways. So light refraction definitely occurs.
It's not.
I mean, we can see that. What's that?
It's just it's bending it maybe in straight lines or whatever, but it's a time lapse. You're not seeing it curve, and you're not seeing the images of the backdrops move. They're not changing like that. And
Yeah, this
Rob's
is definitely moving. This is
well,
definitely
I get that
moving up and down.
I get that the light is moving, but it's still a time lapse. It's not showing it curving. Like you're trying to tell me that an image will curve as the light goes around the world. But and another thing is, you know how that looks like it's got a curve to it, the bridge. If you take a picture of a side of it from the side, because you can only see like 3 miles to in front of you, and you can see a whole lot more on your entire horizon. So if you take a picture of the side of that during that small part of the bridge that you can see from standing there in that perspective, because your vision comes to a point, and the smaller things get, you see how it looks like it's smaller. If you take a picture of the side, you can see a lot more of that bridge than you can see just looking straight ahead. It's
if you go to the side of the bridge, say I went out this direction, right? Let's look at this shot I have on my screen here. If you go to the side of this bridge, right, and you take a picture back this way, you're only going to see less than a mile in frame. If you're the same distance away. So if I was 24 miles away from this bridge and I shot back this way, I'd see less than a mile left or right. That's what this is right here. So this distance right here, this distance in this photograph is less than. It's actually about 800 meters.
I get what you're saying, but you're trying to tell me that your panoramic is less than your view to the horizon?
This left to right is 800 meters, and from here to there, this bridge is 24 miles long, and this is the 4 mile marine hump. So this is 20 miles worth of bridge you're looking at right here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you walk to the side and go back far enough, you're going to see the whole 24 miles of the bridge. At some point, it's going to be all within your view. So when you stand back that far, it's perfectly flat.
It's not the.
But it is like show Soundly Debunked. Go on YouTube and search that, and there's a video that shows there's a complete side view of the bridge that Soundly did.
And it's not a complete side view. You're talking about the gigapixel picture. It only sees about 8 miles. It doesn't see the whole bridge.
It puts it together perfectly. If it didn't match up, it wouldn't match up. It matches up perfectly.
It's not straight, brother.
If it wasn't straight, then it wouldn't show up as straight on that. That it wouldn't fit. The puzzle pieces wouldn't fit together as the program put it all together. It would have to crop out stuff and put stuff there. You can't do that. It's putting the image together.
Yeah, and it's not showing the entire bridge. The gigapixel is not showing the entire bridge. It's from way far away. It doesn't have the same type of resolution. It's only showing to about 8 miles at max.
That view that you're showing right there I'm not talking about that. Like, watch, push Soundly Debunked in YouTube.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the gigapixel image. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm telling you that it doesn't show the entire bridge.
Well, it does though. Like you watch, go. He shows it. He shows more of it than Soundly shows.
He doesn't show more than I show, for sure.
Sorry. He does.
What's the title of it called?
Soundly Debunked. I'm pretty sure something like that. It'll come up.
Which one is
it? Okay, go back up real quick. The right there, the best debunk ever, Soundly Debunking Curved Water in NOLA.
Here it is. Gigapan. Okay, so let's go look at the causeway. Is it this way? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Oops. All right, so here's Lake Wake Center. Actually, Lake Wake Center is way over here. So here's the bridge, right here. So you lose track of the bridge about right here. And this is 3 Lakeway Center. The bridge goes all the way past 3 Lakeway Center. So we don't see like a whole, like, I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 miles right there. Okay. And then you see this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for,
if the curvature were to be there and they would have to edit it out somehow then.
The curve is there. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you actually took this image and compressed it, you would see the curve. This is the 4 mile marine hump. Okay, this right here.
Yeah.
That's
see how it looks. Go look at it from front of the bridge.
Okay. Listen to what I'm telling you. This is the 4 mile marine hump. Okay, so we're going to follow that out. The next hump we see is the 8 mile marine span. That's right here. You can barely make it out. And then the rest of the bridge is gone. I mean, you lose it.
So
this is only showing, like, I mean, even if you look in here, you might be able to make it out a little bit. It's only about 9 miles of the bridge that you're looking at. You're not looking at the whole 20-something mile bridge right there.
Okay, so then when you take it to the base of the bridge, then you show when you take it down to where you were taking pictures from, it'll show the same perspective. It'll show the curve to it. Then when you take it back out, as you go out, there won't be any curve that you see.
Dude, what are you talking about? I've taken it at all different focal lengths.
And
look at this picture that I just showed you a second ago. This is like basically, like, I don't know, it's short focal length. It's probably like 30, 40, 50 millimeter focal length. And you can clearly see the curvature in the bridge right here.
Yeah, you can
when you actually photograph the bridge, you see the curvature. And I'm willing to bet that if you took that Gigapan and you smashed it down widthwise, that you'd see curvature in it. I mean, it's there, dude. And the curve is there. Now, it's so slight because we are on a globe that it's hard to see whenever you do a big pan shot like that. But I have done it. I've actually done it on the transmission lines, and I can show you that as well. And I've shown the curvature from left to right on the transmission lines, which I'll be happy to show you.
How far can we see to the horizon? Generally,
depends on how tall you are. It depends on how high you are.
Like a 6-foot person.
About 3 miles.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. So when you're looking down the bridge, you're looking down 3 miles of bridge, right?
No. I'm seeing from where I normally photograph about around the stuff that's pretty much on ground level is I usually get about 8 miles. I can usually see pretty good for 8 miles.
Okay, fine. So you got a pretty vast curve at 8 miles, according to that perspective.
Hold on 1 second.
Like by the end of that 8 miles, it's not a small curve at all. It's very noticeable. Even flat tars like me will agree it's noticeable.
I thought I had a link in here to the left to right curvature. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a split second here so I can look in a private message.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Okay, where is it? Here it is. Okay, let me go back to sharing. Yeah, okay, I'm trying the right thing. Okay. So I did a video called Curve Left to Right, and this is the results of that video right here. And what you should pay attention to here is these base pylons right here.
I don't see anything. It shows you're already in a call.
Oh, you're not seeing my screen right now? Let me present myself. Maybe that'll fix it. Okay. You should be able to see that, right?
Yeah. I don't see anything now. Now I'm back to the whatever. I can't see the screen. I'm back in the hang.
I don't know how to help you on that one. I mean, should just be able to see my screen. Maybe I can try and share again.
Yeah.
Stop sharing. Screen share. Okay. Can you see it now?
No.
Well, you can go back and look at this image, I guess, after the fact. But what I did is I went out 90 degrees to the transmission lines, which I photographed, and I panned from left to right.
All right.
And what you see is the bases of the transmission lines, the pylons that they're sitting on top of, actually curve behind the horizon. And that's one of the things about the horizon is that the horizon is a circle around you. So it's, you can't see, you can't, it's not the same type of curvature on the horizon. You'd have to get up high enough to be able to get whatever the object is that's curving over the horizon, to get the entire thing in frame and not be blocked by the horizon in order to see it. But the technique that I used here was to use the horizon as a straight line and show that the pylons are actually curving behind the horizon.
All right. Well,
so left to right curvature I have filmed.
But how many miles can you see left to right as opposed to 8 miles in front of you if you're standing on a hill?
It depends on your field of view. So if you have a telephoto lens like I do, and I use that primarily, like a P900 has basically a 2,000 millimeter telephoto lens. With a P900 you have about 1 degree field of view in frame, which works out to maybe a kilometer left to right over 24 miles. So 24 miles away from you would be like maybe a kilometer wide left to right.
Left to right is only a kilometer?
Yeah, like that's the image I was showing earlier of the of the causeway, for example. Let me pull that image back up. Why did I close that image? Let's see. I can find it real quick here. Okay.
Oh, you're saying from the camera's point of view. I get that. But I'm talking about what you can see, is with your own eyes. Well, even with the camera, even if it got back far enough, it's more about like if you were to take a picture of what you're looking straight ahead, and then from the very most left to the very most right.
Yeah, it depends on your field of view. So there's not a number you can throw out. You have to know what the field of view is to figure it out.
Yeah, but I'm assuming if you're like 8 feet above sea level, you can see a lot longer than just a kilometer. You can see a whole, especially that far back, like 8 miles back from something. You can see a lot.
Well, I can see 8 miles because I'm up high, and in my photography, my max field of view is about 1 degree. But I think you're missing the point. That is that if you have a horizon in front of you that's blocking the objects in the background, they're going to block anything that's curving in the background, because the horizon isn't actually on a great circle. It's a circle around you, So it actually blocks great circles behind it from being seen. That's why I did the transmission lines from the side, because they project the great circle up above the horizon, so you can actually see them curving left or right.
So when you take a picture of that bridge, of 8 miles of that bridge from the side, what does that picture look like?
Whenever I pan left or right,
No, when you just step back, when you go back far enough from the bridge, you take a picture of it where you see 8 miles of it.
well, you can't. In order to have 8 miles in frame, it would have to be very, very far away from you, and I can't even get that far away without having obstructions in my way.
Well, I mean, if you got high enough, what would it look like?
Okay, well, I just showed you that picture.
I can't see anything right now, but not from the side at all, like or from exactly 90 degrees out from, exactly from the side of it.
Yeah, it would look really skinny and really long, and it would have a curve in it. Yes, it would have a curve in it, but it'd be questionable whether or not you could even detect it within 1 pixel because the curve is so slight. That's the problem you have. So the further away you get, right? The further away you get, the smaller the object gets, as we talked about earlier, due to perspective. So the curve, if the curve itself is smaller than a pixel, then you're not going to be able to detect it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't have to be that small. Like, if you look at that video, that Soundly Debunked video, he's got the perspective of the whole, more than 8 miles in that bridge, of that bridge taken. Like, he's got a lot of that bridge. Like, it's not the whole thing.
You're talking about the Gigapan image again, right?
Yeah, the Gigapan. You can go back far enough where you want, I think, and you can see just yourself.
So okay, I'll bring up the Gigapan. I'll say what I said earlier about the Gigapan image. You can only see max 9 miles of the causeway in that picture. First of all, and that's out to 9 miles. So there's like a 1 mile that's behind trees you can't even see. So you're seeing about 8 miles maybe of the actual causeway, and it's very low resolution, and it's hazy. But the point is that I think that if you actually took that picture and you compressed it down to where it could fit into 1 frame where you could look at it all at one time, it probably would show a curvature.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he does that, and it doesn't.
He doesn't do that in that video.
What?
He just brings this bridge up and goes, "Woo! Look, the liar hump," or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he says.
He shows the
start calling us the liar hump, huh?
He shows the whole bridge. Like, he shows.
It's not. I keep trying to tell you, it's not the whole bridge. If you actually look at the Gigapan picture, it's not the whole bridge. It's only like 8 miles of the bridge.
That's okay. Well, if you do it with your own Gigapan image, what's it look like?
Oh, I just told you. It looks
It
looks hazy, and you lose it at about 9 miles.
With your own Gigapan.
With my own Gigapan? What do you mean? I don't have a Gigapan.
Hey, didn't you just manipulate a Gigapan image?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's on the screen.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. If you take that perspective back to where you're looking at the whole bridge.
Right. If you take it back far enough to where you're looking at the whole 9 miles, you can't even hardly make it out. I can't even hardly see it. It's in there.
Really?
It's in there, but it's really hard to see.
All right.
With the whole image. But regardless, if you actually take that picture and scale it, the bridge is not perfectly straight. Actually, it's really hard to fit the whole bridge into the frame. So I'm gonna try and see if I can. Okay. I can't make it out well enough. Let me just take this and see. Let me see. This might be enough right here to draw a straight line on it. But like I said, the curve is so slight. The only reason that I'm able to see it the way I see it is because I'm looking at 24 miles out in front of me. When you look left or right, it becomes very hard to see this thing, to see the curve, because it is a huge ball that we live on.
So it's not perspective, but it is.
Wait, what?
So the curve that you see in your pictures is not due to perspective, but it also is.
The curve that I mean, it's called depth compression. So perspective it results in, because of perspective, you have this phenomenon known as depth compression, which means that things that are further away from you appear to get closer and closer and closer together.
Yeah.
And so this very slight curve becomes more apparent because you're looking at it that way. You're looking at it on edge on, like you're looking at a board or looking at a cue stick. If you wanted to see if a cue stick was straight or not, right, you would look down the end of it. You wouldn't look at that side of it. You know, you wouldn't walk across the room and look at the stick from left to right. You take it and you look down the butt of the stick. And
Rotated it.
What's that?
Of course, you look at it from the side. If you rotate it, it'd be a lot easier.
Why would you look at it from the side though?
Well, because to see if there's a warp to it. If it's up or down, then if it's up or down, then you know you'd see it. Actually, you'd see it almost all the time. It's only when it's directly parallel with you that you wouldn't see it.
It's only when it's directly parallel with you that you wouldn't see it.
Yeah, if you rotate a pull stick from the side view when you're looking at it, you would be able to see where the warp is a lot more pronounced than if you were to be looking down it.
No.
What do you mean? If it was warped, it would have a hump, and if you rotate it, the hump would be visible if you're looking at it from the side.
So Metabunk did an article on this. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
Okay. You get what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah, but I don't. I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that's correct.
You don't think that
where is Metabunk? The Metabunk article.
if it was warped, if you look at it from the side.
Are you able to see the screen right now?
No, I can't. You want to end this and then I'll restart it and I'll be able to see the screen again.
Drop out and drop back in, and maybe you can see the screen.
I already tried that actually.
I wouldn't want to have to start another Hangout up, man.
Well,
you can't like close Hangouts and then like rejoin the Hangout and see the screen.
That's what I tried to do.
Can you see? Do you have a computer handy anywhere? Like, can you actually look at the live stream right now and see it after the fact, like the live video? I mean, I can end it if you want to end it. That's fine. But the Metabunk article shows a pull stick from top view when you're backed away from it, and then if you actually look down, get down by it, and look down the actual stick, you can see the curve in it.
So you're saying if you were to rotate it, though, like, I mean, he's only looking at it from one perspective. I'm talking about the rest of the 90% of the time when it's not parallel with you.
So, like you're saying, I put a pull stick on the pool table. I'll walk away from the pool table and look at it from the side, and I'd be able to tell it's curved.
Like if you put it on the pool table so that it's horizontal, and you know you're seeing the long end ways of it, like you're seeing the whole length of the pool stick. if the length of the pull stick is facing you and you put a bend in it, when you rotate that bend is gonna show. You're gonna be able to see it at where it's bent. So it's gonna rotate around and become visible. Like it's only when that bend is parallel with your view that you won't be able to see it. But
I really wish you could see your screen right now. I'm going to share this with everybody else, though.
You're on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. So there are so many observations that we make that obviously show what the globe predicts it to be.
Like boats over the horizon?
Well, like New Orleans over the horizon, which is what I'm showing right now. You're kind of at a disadvantage because I'm able to show this, and you're not able to see it. But I have pictures of the causeway from a drone from the side, and you know that picture shows the causeway curving, and it's the majority of the causeway. I have 20 miles of the causeway in frame. And when you have 20 miles of the causeway in frame, and you actually put a straight edge on that, which is what I'm doing right now, you can see that it's curved.
You're putting a straight edge on that right now?
Yeah. So if I put a straight edge on the bottom of the causeway on one side of the frame and on the bottom of the causeway on the other side of the frame, it's obviously curving. I mean, it's just like obvious. It can't be any more obvious, to be honest.
Well, that looked straight as hell to me.
How does that look straight? You're seeing it now?
Yeah.
Because look, this is at the bottom of the causeway right here. And then this is also at the bottom of the causeway down here. It's not straight. See, if I try and line up the bottom of the road, you can see the causeway actually sinks below that straight line.
All right. Yeah, no, that the causeway is it looks like it's bent, but that's because you're not from the side view. I'm talking about 90-degree angle from the side, man.
And I keep trying to tell you, if you're going to try and get 24 miles into a single frame from the side,
yes,
you're not going to be able to do it without getting up in the airplane and flying 100 miles away or something. I don't know. I actually don't know what the math is. I'd have to work it out, but you'd have to fly away a long ways away, and then at that point, the causeway would be so small, angular resolution wise, that it'd be really hard to even see it. So the best thing I think you could do is actually to go out on a boat, maybe. I mean, it's actually telephoto photography from a boat is impossible almost. But if you could get out there on some stable land from the side, then you pan across it, which I've done a number of times. I've panned across the causeway and shown that it sinks over the horizon. I mean, it's just what it does, man. Every single time you photograph the thing, it's sinking over the horizon.
Well, you're rowing uphill and you're rowing downhill, right?
No, it's not. It's not uphill and downhill. No.
Well, it's what it would be from your perspective. It'd be uphill and downhill.
No, it's not. It's not uphill and downhill. It's all the same height. So you're not going up or down.
Well, that's another thing is boats over the horizon. Like, they show that when you got the boat out, when it goes out of your perspective, like this wasn't done. The observation was originally done, like again, 1,500 years ago or whatever, and they did not use a telescopic lens or anything like that for their observation. The boat goes to the person's horizon. It goes to their perspective, and then it sinks over the horizon. What's your perspective views as the horizon. And then if you go ahead and try to zoom in on it after that, after it's out of your field of view, after it's gone to your vanishing point, after that boat is gone, like it comes back into view.
So I don't know why we're talking about 1,500 years ago. Today we can go out there with a camera and see a boat go over the horizon.
Yep,
And
without using a zoom.
well, you can actually see the big tanker boats go over the horizon without zoom, yes. And then when you zoom in, it's still over the horizon.
Okay, that's what we disagree upon.
Well, I mean, you can say you disagree, but we have the evidence to back that up, so it's not really something that you disagree about.
You've seen the photograph or the videos of them zooming in on an empty horizon and then pulling in a whole boat.
So in those videos, what happens is they zoom out, and
Yep.
the angular resolution of the boat is too small to see. And then they zoom in and prove that the boat has not gone over the horizon yet. That's what those videos show.
No, because then you're saying that your own view of what you can see is a telescopic view.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're trying to get at, but there's a really good video by Wolfie. If I can get back to it here.
I inspired Wolfie to do that actually.
Wolfie 6020 does a video of a boat, a big tanker boat that's obviously over the horizon, and he zooms in on it, it's still over the horizon. So if you've seen that video, then you've seen evidence of you've seen evidence of boats over the horizon. I mean,
well, yeah, I've
I don't
seen
know
that
what else to tell you.
over the horizon, yeah, but that's not showing a boat that has. When he was not able to see that far, when he was in your regular perspective, what you and I can see through the camera's lens, that's basically what you and I can see. It's as far as our horizon goes. There's nothing on the horizon. How did the boat get out of the horizon unless it went over the horizon?
Are you talking about the limits of human vision? Of course, we can't see everything. I mean,
No, but
if I'm holding a penny, if I'm holding a penny up 5 miles away from you, you're probably not going to be able to see that, right?
No, but we can see boats go over the horizon.
Yes, we can. We can see boats go over the horizon. That's right, which is why it's a globe.
When we zoom in on a boat that has gone over the horizon, that's what we see.
When you zoom in on a boat that's gone over the horizon, you see that it's still over the horizon.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. When it disappears from your view, from the camera's view, when it's zoomed out, that's your view. When it disappears bottom first, it goes over the horizon. I've done a video demonstration of that happening. That's what happens on a flat plane. When it goes out of view, the cameras can then zoom in and find it again.
Not if it's gone over the horizon.
Well, if it got out of your view, how did it get to how did it not go over the horizon?
Because that's not going over the horizon. Because if things are small and you can't see them, that doesn't mean they've gone over the horizon. That just means they're small.
Well, that's what your eye sees as it goes over the horizon.
No, your eye doesn't see it going over the horizon.
Yes, when your eye sees your camera zoomed out, when that camera sees it go over the horizon, it sees it go over the horizon, zoomed out. Right?
No.
Okay, when it's zoomed out, what does it see?
What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. When you're zoomed out, what I mean, if it's a big tanker boat, you probably could see it if it goes over the horizon. If it's a big tanker ship.
When it gets so small that you can't see it anymore, that's not what happens, right?
No, if it's too small and you can't see it, it's not because it goes over the horizon that you can't see it. It's because it's too small. It's just small.
No, it can't be too small because we see them go over the horizon.
You don't see it go over the horizon. in that case.
Do. That's what our observation is.
No, they aren't. That's not what your observations are. I've never seen an observation where a boat went over the horizon, and then when you zoomed in, it came back from over the horizon. No, that doesn't happen.
How did they get past? How did they get out of view if they didn't go over the horizon, dude?
Because they're too small.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't disappear and get small. When you're sitting there, sitting on a beach, it does not get disappear. It doesn't get small and disappear. It goes over the horizon to your perspective.
No, it just doesn't happen like that.
That's what the observation is. It goes over the horizon.
Like I said, there are no observations like that.
There's no observation of a boat going over the horizon.
Are you playing word games on purpose? There's no observation where a boat has gone over the horizon and then you zoom in and it comes back from over the horizon. That does not happen.
It's a long process to do, but what we can both agree on is that it takes the boat being past the horizon for it to be out of view.
No, it doesn't. It does not take the boat because it's too small. A small boat will go too far away from you to be seen anymore before it goes over the horizon.
So how did they make the observation of it going over the horizon if it was too small to see?
Because they're looking at bigger boats. They're looking at tankers.
Okay, I'm talking about tankers. You can bring in anything you want. There's big boats, small boats, little boats, buoys. You can bring in anything.
All right. So do you see the tanker that's on the screen right now? That tanker is over the horizon.
He's zoomed in, okay, but now when he zooms in on it, he can see the whole thing.
Oh no, you can't.
Yes. Well, okay, why not?
Because there's a horizon in the way, dude. Because the Earth is a ball.
Okay, but now.
I mean, here, look right here. Look right here. You see that? You see the boat right now?
You see how big it is? Yeah.
Yeah, it's over the horizon, and he's zooming in and out. He's zooming in and out, and nothing's changing with his obstruction height. Watch. Watch when he starts zooming out.
Yeah.
He zooms in. Same amount is obstructed. Same exact amount is obstructed when he zooms in. Now it's going to zoom out. Same amount still obstructed.
Now it's gone.
It zooms out. Still same amount obstructed.
Same amount obstructed. Okay, well that's close though. Yeah.
Still the same amount obstructed. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Zooming does not affect the image that's actually being looked at. That's one of the things that is kind of confusing to me because I don't understand. The light, right, is coming from that boat, and you are passively receiving that light in your eyes, and so is the camera. The camera passively receives that light. When you increase your magnification, all you're doing is looking at a smaller field of view of the same image. You're not looking. You can't affect the light.
Look at my video of me dragging a lighter from a gate on a flat plane straight over to you, straight over to the camera's perspective, and you will see that that backyard is missing a brick and a half next to the lighter. It looks like it's gone past the horizon, but there's a sweet spot when you're looking at stuff where you can't see over that. You can't see over the horizon, like it's blocking. Like that's why the boats don't get small and disappear. They go over the horizon, but then when they go farther back, once they get farther back, you can then again zoom in on them.
Flat out hero, dude. I'm showing you video evidence that is contrary to your claim right now. I'm showing it to you.
No, you're not. Like I'm telling you, how does a boat get out of your perspective? They have said it for years. It's because it goes over the horizon. No. They didn't use a telescopic lens. It was not. It was this him using a telescopic lens. That's how he's finding that horizon. When he zooms out, his horizon is a lot nearer than that.
Dude, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. The video's on the screen right now.
Yeah, I get that, but he's not. You're missing the point. They didn't use a telescope to get to that horizon. They had the horizon that they watch a boat as it was large. It was large enough for them to see. It wasn't small. It doesn't disappear into a dot. It went over the horizon. And that's what I'm saying is it goes over the horizon to your regular perspective, and then you zoom in on it and you can see it again.
So there are two different things that can happen. One is the boat can be so small that it travels far enough away from you that you can't see it anymore. But it might not be over. But it might not be over the horizon yet. That's one thing that could happen. When you zoom in on that boat, you'll be able to see that it's not over the horizon. Okay, and by zooming in and seeing that boat, you have proven that it's not over the horizon. The horizon hasn't changed, right? The horizon stays the same for your height. The distance to the horizon stays exactly the same for your height. So when you zoom in on that boat and you see it, you've just proven that it has not gone over the horizon yet. Now, the other thing that could happen is a big tanker boat could travel away from you, and it could actually still be visible when it goes over the horizon. Now you can see that boat is clearly over the horizon, and when you zoom in, you prove that it's past the horizon. There's two different observations.
When you're looking at the horizon, the boat does not shrink into something small. It doesn't go into a small dot. That's why they have the observation that boats go over the horizon. When they go over the horizon, you I don't know what else to tell you. Like then you zoom in and it's there. It's not anything different than that. Like you zoom in and it's there again.
And what you just proven is that boat has not gone over the horizon yet.
Well, okay, so it went over to the horizon. It went over the horizon from my perspective.
That didn't go over the horizon from your perspective. It got so small that you were no longer able to resolve it in your vision.
That's not the observation.
There's only two possibilities.
Well,
it's either that or it went over, or it's a big boat that goes over the horizon while you can still see it, and then you zoom in and you see it's still over the horizon. It never comes back up from over the horizon.
That's what I'm talking about. Like it does though. Like you can't see it at all from your perspective. They zoom out. You can't see anything on the horizon line. It's gone. There's nothing there.
That's because it's so small that you can't resolve it anymore.
But you're saying that's not. But you're saying that we didn't see boats go over the horizon from our perspective.
That's right. It didn't go over the horizon. Going over the horizon is a very specific geometric observation. Over the horizon means it's past the horizon. If you zoom in on the boat and you can see it and it's not past the horizon, then you've just proven that it's not past the horizon. I don't understand why you don't understand that.
No, it doesn't fit with your narrative. I get that, but it proves our point. You can see it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When it is your perspective, which the observation is, it goes over the horizon. So when you're zoomed out, that boat has already gone over the horizon, and they are zooming back in on it. Then there is no. It's clear as day. It can't have another horizon. It's got to get over. It's already past your horizon.
Okay, well that is just patently false. I mean, you're making a claim that is being disproven by this video right here. There's nothing more we can talk about.
Coordinating with it, he is zoomed in all the way, and he sees it going over another perspective. He's seeing another horizon. You've already seen yours. It's already gone over yours.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something. You can still see the tanker. Okay. In this shot right here, you can still see the tanker with the same amount of obstruction that it had before, but you can't see the boat, the small boat that's in front of the tanker.
Oh.
That boat is not over the horizon. It can't be over the horizon because if it were over the horizon, then it would be past. It would be underneath or beside that big tanker, and it's not. Okay.
Wait, so there's a boat that's supposed to be there that's not there?
Yeah, there's a boat somewhere up in here that you can't see because of angular resolution.
All right.
And he goes back even further. Like, you can't see that boat right now. The amount of obstruction due to the horizon is the same for this big tanker. But there's a boat in the foreground that you can't see. Now, if we rewind, now you can see the boat. It's right here. And it's not over the horizon. this boat's over the horizon. This boat is not over the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have both observations, both types of observation in this video right here. You can compare and contrast them.
When he zooms out, though, they're not. He can't see them.
That's right. When he zooms out, he can't see that. That's because of angular resolution. The boat is still there. It doesn't go over a horizon. It's still there.
Hold on, I'm confused about one thing though. When their boats are sailing away, how did they disappear?
They went over the horizon.
Okay, so then when you zoom in on them and you see them again,
You don't. You see that
no,
they're over the horizon.
well, that you just showed that he had from his perspective an empty horizon.
Right now, it looks like an empty horizon with this tanker behind it, right?
Now almost it's getting to it. It's close. It's going to an empty horizon. It's almost to an empty horizon.
Okay, so let's do something here. Let's take this little snippet right here and let's zoom in on it. Let's zoom in on it and see if we see anything.
Is that as far as he goes back?
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Whenever I zoomed in on it, I can see the boat again. It's right here.
Mm-hmm.
That shows you that it's not actually, even though we couldn't see it, it's not actually gone. It didn't go over another horizon in the front of it.
I know that
You just
you're
can't
saying
see
that.
it.
Like I know that. Like that's what I'm saying though. Is you're completely missing a point. From his original zoomed out perspective, he watched it go over the horizon.
No, he didn't watch it go over the horizon. He watched it get smaller and smaller and smaller until it got to a point that you couldn't see it anymore. But then as soon as you clip the image and zoom in on the image, you can actually make out that this is where the boat still is.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't see it get smaller. The observation is that the boat goes over the horizon.
I think you're basically just mixed up with what over the horizon means, to be honest.
Like I know what it means. I know what it's supposed to mean. It means that you, from your perspective, you watch the boat not disappear into a point, but go over the horizon like we would expect to on a ball. But we don't really think about it when you put the same thing of the flat plane perspective. It has a sweet spot where it disappears. Like you can see past that, and you can see up up to a point. But that's what we see on our regular vision. We see from our own perspective only so far. And when that boat disappears over out of our field of view, it doesn't go into a point like we would expect. It goes over the horizon. But when you zoom in on it, after it's past that sweet spot, after it's past that blind spot, then you can see it again. It has a length, a distance in between where you can't see and where you can see it again because it has to come back into view.
Yeah.
But it does.
So what you've just done is test the limits of your angular resolution. That's what you've done. It doesn't mean the thing is gone. It doesn't mean that you can't see it. If you had eagle eyes, you'd be able to see it. If you had higher resolution, you'd be able to see it.
No, it means it disappeared bottom first.
No, it doesn't disappear bottom first. It doesn't do that.
It does.
It doesn't do that. If I can promise you that it doesn't do that. If I had 100 megapixel image of that picture right there that I just showed you a second ago of the ship over the horizon, which I've lost now. What did I do with it? What did I do? Close it. Here it is. So if I had 100 megapixel image of this right here, I'd be able to zoom in on that image and see that tiny boat.
Okay, but when you're talking about from your own perspective, when you're sitting at a beach, it looks like it goes over the horizon.
Okay, I don't care about my own perspective. I care about reality and
That's
what I can test and measure with tools and instruments because my eyes have a limit. My eyes have a physical angular resolution limit.
But it doesn't.
I can only see things that are so small, but it doesn't mean those things aren't there. It just means they're small.
It doesn't disappear to a point. It goes over the horizon. That's what
it doesn't though. This video right here just showed you that boat disappeared to a point.
That's not the 1,500-year-old observation of ships going over the horizon is not what we're talking about in a zoomed in perspective.
I'm
We're
not
talking
talking
about
about a 1500-year-old observation. I'm talking about a modern day observation, which is this one right here.
what your whole heliocentric model is based on, dude. Like that's the first piece of evidence that they could find for the ball.
Dude, it doesn't. We could throw away all of history right up to today, right now, right? And I could still go make observations that prove it's a ball. It doesn't really matter what you think about history, to be honest, because we can do
Saying
the observations ourselves.
we're talking about this one. We're talking about the observation of a ship going over the horizon.
What
You
about it?
see it from the beach. You see it. You watch it go over the horizon, right?
If it's a tanker, yeah, sure.
Yeah, like it's a ship. Big ship goes over the horizon, and then you have the camera zoomability now. So you've watched it disappear bottom first, like you'd expect to on a ball. Now you zoom in on that empty horizon, and
Mm-hmm.
there it is.
Yep, there it is, still obstructed. Watch. There it
No,
is.
no, no. It's not obstructed. It is. You can zoom in on the whole thing.
There it is, dude. It's obstructed still at 2000 millimeter focal length. And it doesn't change no matter what the focal length is. It doesn't change how much is hidden.
Can you see it right now?
Yes, you can see it. There it is.
How did it disappear from view?
This ship doesn't disappear from view. It does get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's just a white blob. But if you stop right here and you take a screenshot of this, which is obviously less zoom, right?
All right. I get what you're saying, that it looks like it's still got the same amount missing or whatever, but that's because it's the same time, same distance from you. It's not moving. It's the same time. You're not. It's when it's spread out over time. It's different.
Dude, you're talking about magnification, okay? You're saying that people didn't have magnification. They saw ships go over the horizon 1500 years ago. But that wasn't really going over the horizon because I can zoom in on it and still see it. And I'm showing you right here that you can't do that. This is a video of someone showing you that that is wrong. I don't
Okay.
understand how else to put it.
Not showing me that that is wrong. It's showing me that they don't understand that it's proving my point. If it's out of view from the very point of the camera being zoomed out the most, if it's not in view, then it disappeared over the horizon.
That's not no. That's not what disappearing over the horizon is.
That is when it's out of when it's out of zoom, all the way out of zoom. That's the perspective that you have when you're sitting at the beach. When it goes over the horizon, it'll disappear bottom first.
Okay. By definition, it has not gone over the horizon.
But that's what the observation is.
No, that's what you're saying. You're calling that going over the horizon, but that's not what going over the horizon is. That's not the same thing.
That's a piece of evidence for the heliocentric model. Is the curvature of the Earth. That is curvature.
I'm glad you agree. It is. It is evidence.
Like I'm saying, that you can see that you zoom in on it, it's there.
Okay,
But
let's move on to a different topic because
my last point really for right now would be gravity. When for, or do you want to have a point or what?
what?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like hog. Did you want to make a point?
I mean, I'll make the same point I've always made. If you can see the screen now, this is a good time to see this. Okay, so this video right here, right, is of New Orleans from about 400 feet. And whenever I go down, the whole city becomes hidden. Okay? There's no amount of zoom that's going to bring that city back. It's just not going to happen. You have to go up higher to see the city. When you go down, you lose the city, except for the tallest building there. When you go up, you see a 300-foot tall bridge. a 450 foot tall building, a whole bunch of 300 and something foot tall buildings, a Superdome. But then when you go down, it all gets hidden behind the horizon. I mean,
Well, yeah.
I don't know how much more intuitive it can be than this video right here.
The same thing happens on a flat plane, like I've demonstrated that in one of my videos.
It doesn't, though, because the nature of parallel lines means that they can't cross.
No, I'm not saying they do.
So if your line of sight is parallel, horizontal, right? If it's parallel to the ground, those two things cannot cross by the nature of parallel lines. That's what parallel lines do. They can't cross.
Do.
Yeah, you are. If you're saying that, so I have a line of sight right now to the Superdome, right? And if I go down and I can no longer see the Superdome, that means that the plane that you're claiming is the ground has now crossed with my line of sight to the Superdome. That means those lines aren't parallel.
Well, explain what's happening in my video then. Because my video...
I haven't seen your video, so I have no idea. I'll go look at it after this.
Shows me dragging a lighter from a gate just across a straight flat walkway and dragging it, and it comes into view top first and then the bottom as we see boats go over the horizon. And you can see that from the very beginning of the video, it's missing a brick and a half all the way up to the gate. So from that angle, my lighter looks like it comes into view, but from the top first, just like we see the boats come into view from the top first, disappear from the bottom first, and I drag it to the camera's perspective, and you can see the exact same thing happening on a flat plane. It doesn't have to happen on a ball, and in fact, on a ball it would look different.
What's the name of your video?
I'm not sure which one it was. It's like a 30-second one or 45-second one, something like that. Just a real quick one.
I don't even know you don't have your videos tab up, so I don't even know how to find it. But the first thing I would ask you is, did you shoot a laser level across the ground to make sure that the ground was actually flat?
No, it's level though. Like it's flat enough. Like it's a concrete way.
Flat, yeah, but flat enough is not good enough. I mean, unless you can prove that the ground is actually flat, you don't have a case, because it's more than likely that the ground's not actually flat. Like the guy that does the walk across the football field. No.
Scroll down real quick. It should be one of the... Can you scroll down?
That's as far down as I can go.
It's not showing. Well,
oh, here's your videos.
Yeah.
First video from 3 weeks ago.
Probably that, like 40 seconds long or something.
Oh, here's one that's 44 seconds long. This might be it. Do you have your camera like below the concrete? Looks like it.
It was sitting in a crack, so it was basically the same perspective that a 6-foot person would be on the ball earth, you know.
Yeah, so the ground in front of the lighter is definitely not level.
No, it's level. I mean, the camera's a little bit tilted, but it's proving the point though. Watch. You see those bricks like to the bottom left, kind of?
Yeah, so you have ground in front of your bricks.
Oh, it's... Watch when the lighter comes into view. Like it comes into view top first.
Yeah, your concrete's not level. That's why I'm saying you need to put a laser level on it.
You can do it on as level as you want, like yourself, and it will show. Like it's just...
Okay. You want me to do one myself? Okay.
You gotta find a place that's long enough like that though too. It has to be a long enough distance. That's what I'm talking about. The sweet spot. Like you can't see from the bottom of the lighter at the beginning of the video. You can't see all that area that's beyond the horizon, but from the rest of your field of view, like it's well, you just can't see that whole point right there from that point of view.
So Wolfie's 6020 did a very similar experiment over airplane hangar, the concrete of an airplane hangar, and it was obviously visible the entire time.
How high was he?
He had his camera right down next to the ground.
Well, I mean, that's
Right here,
impossible.
you can see his video. You see his cell phone camera. He has his cell phone camera as low as it can go, and then he has this light laying on the ground.
All I see is you scrolling. I don't see any.
Oh well, it's delayed. But basically, he sets up a cell phone camera and a light across the other side of the hangar deck, and you can see it the entire way. I'll just let the end of it play here so you can see it. This is why you have to make sure your surface is level, because even small little humps in it will make it to where you can't see the bottom of things. But regardless, the sun is not on the ground. The sun, by flat Earth estimation, is 3,000 miles above us.
Wait, look, is that? Where's his camera? Where's his camera? His camera's not sitting still.
This camera's on the ground. This guy's camera on the ground.
Well, what's he? He's moving it.
He's holding it. So what?
Yeah, so it's not on the ground. Like, I mean, it's not at
It
the
is
level.
on the ground.
It's not at the level of perspective that mine is. Like, it's higher.
Okay, let me show you the cell phone camera again.
I see where the cell phone camera is. It's an iPhone. I get that, but
Yeah.
my camera is at a more accurate depiction of your height. Like you're talking about on a perspective level, like mine, right where you should be. His is above where you should be by far.
Okay,
So he's not getting back from it.
Let's take this to the sun. Okay, so this, if you want to do it to scale, then you put the sun 3,000 miles above. Okay. So the next time you do this experiment, instead of doing a lighter on the ground, put a sun up in the sky. Put a light on your head and walk away from it, and see how long it takes before you can't see that light.
Yeah.
Over a flat surface. It'll never go down, dude. It doesn't. What you're saying doesn't make sense because of parallel lines. Parallel lines do not cross, and in order for flat Earth to be right, parallel lines have to cross, and that doesn't happen by definition of parallel lines, so it can't be right. It's just not possible.
Not awesome. It's just that it's just how your vision works, man.
Like I said, your vision is a passive receiver of light. Okay. Your vision doesn't cause anything to happen in the world.
No, but it causes your perception of it.
No, it receives light from the world.
And it causes you to perceive what it is.
All right, we're going nowhere, man.
I guess gravity. Every other force, like magnetism or any force, doesn't demonstrate itself to be more or less, just like selecting whatever it chooses. Like it can't choose to be strong enough to hold oceans to its like core, or weak enough to let butterflies or me or you jump, or butterflies fly, or whatever. Like there's no force that has unequal pull on anything except for gravity, and there's so much of gravity doesn't make sense. The very definition of it, for it to have an exponentially increasing effect as it gets closer to the larger mass, completely destroys terminal velocity. The terminal velocity shouldn't exist because of gravity, but clouds floating, there's an endless array of things that just don't apply because gravity is obviously made up. Like how can you account for that?
Have you ever pulled two magnets apart? Have you?
Force.
Have you ever pulled two magnets apart?
Okay.
Okay, so you have to apply a force to one magnet, right? And that's how they get pulled apart, right?
Well, you have to apply a different force to the other one.
If you have one magnet glued to your desk and you grab the other magnet and you pulled it up, you have to apply a force to it to pull it up, right? Okay, same thing happens with butterflies. Butterflies flap their wings, they apply a force. They go up.
But you're supposed to be fighting against the force that will hold oceans to the surface. So you're talking about a little piece of metal. Magnetism is not going to pull the little piece at a slower rate just because it's smaller.
Have you ever held two magnets up above the ground and one magnet sticks to the other one against gravity? Have you ever done that?
Well, yeah.
The magnetic force is stronger than gravity. That proves it right there. Okay.
No,
but yet you can pull those two magnets apart. Water, a vast body of water, is not applying any force in the upward direction. Why would it? There's nothing causing it to push itself off the surface.
Physics says that the water should be thrown off of the spinning ball surface.
Do what?
Physics states that the fucking water should be being thrown off the surface of the spinning.
And physics states that gravity would hold it down with a certain amount of force. So what's your point?
That force that's being applied to not only pull it back down to the center of the Earth, that force has to have a universal force. Everything that it affects the same. If it's a small piece of metal, and it's just more. It doesn't not affect a small piece of metal just because it's smaller. It doesn't have less of an effect, right? If you're saying that for a butterfly, because that force should be pinning the butterfly to Earth. It should be pinning you and me to Earth. It should be, if it's able to pin oceans from being hurled off of Earth, it should be strong enough to hold us.
It is strong enough to hold us down, and it is strong enough to hold butterflies down. That's why we don't jump out into space, and that's why butterflies don't fly out into space. Do what?
But we can jump.
Yeah, because we apply a force that allows us to jump.
Larger than the force of all those gallons of water being hurled off of the Earth?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying that I'm strong enough to I couldn't even lift all the gallons of the ocean. There's no way that I could stop them from being hurled off of the Earth.
Yeah, that's correct.
What? So then how could I overcome that force?
Because the force is based on your weight and the Earth's weight.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like a piece of metal, if it's a small piece of metal or it's a big piece of metal, they're both affected by the force. It's not smaller just because it's a smaller piece of metal. It's the same force.
I'm not real sure what you're even saying. So what's the same force? It's dependent on your mass.
Yes.
Your mass is different than the ocean's mass. Your mass is different than a butterfly's mass.
Okay.
You can calculate exactly how much energy you need to actually lift you off the surface of the Earth based on how hard it's pulling.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's not a different pulling for a magnet for just because it's smaller or larger. It's the same pulling effect, but it's just the object would be affected more or less. And in our case, we should be affected more.
We are affected more. Our mass, the force between our mass and Earth is stronger than the force between a butterfly and Earth. That is the truth. I still don't understand where you're going with it.
Well, that's exactly where I'm going with it. Like, there's clouds can float, but oceans are stuck to the Earth. Why is it so choosy? Why aren't the clouds?
It's not choosy. It's not choosy. There's energy imparted into water. It evaporates. It goes up.
Yep.
It goes up because it's less dense than the air that's being pulled down by gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the air is being pulled down by gravity. and so the water goes up. That's why it can float.
But that doesn't explain everything should be affected by gravity when it's hovering in the air.
Everything is affected by gravity. It's still being affected by gravity.
Why do they float?
I just told you, the air beneath it's more dense.
I get that, but that doesn't explain that gravity should be pulling it down anyway.
It is. That's why it doesn't float off into space.
But how is it holding millions of gallons of water hovering in the air? That millions of gallons of water should be pulled straight through that more dense air.
Because the water is in a state that is less dense than the air below it.
No, it's not. Like it's
Yes, it is. The clouds are less dense than the air below it.
They're made up
When they're not less dense than the air below it, they come down to the ground, and it's called fog.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying though. Like it's not being pulled into pools on the ground, just like gravity.
Oh man, I really don't know where we're going with this, to be honest. If you really want to learn about this stuff, you can go look at Five Red Pairs. Five Red Pairs does all the math and shows you exactly how much force is being applied to us at the equator. So
Yeah.
like how much force due to centripetal force is being applied to us, or actually I guess it's centrifugal at that point. But the point is that works out to like his math works out to 1/327th of a gram for I forgot how heavy the person was.
But so that
I don't
means
see the original. But the point is that there is a force being applied to us due to the spin of the Earth, and it makes us lighter at the equator. Like we are lighter at the equator than we are at higher latitudes. And if you go to Wolfie 6020's channel, he actually does an experiment where he takes a 500-gram weight and he calibrates a scale at one latitude, and then he goes to different latitudes and he weighs that same weight at those different latitudes, and the weight is different because of the spin of the Earth. I mean, it's not like we haven't done these things. We've actually, every objection that I've seen from Flat Earth has already been answered by one of these debunkers. And all you got to do is just go look for it.
I've seen them. It doesn't mean that they're right. Like I mean, there's things that I definitely know that they're being deceptive about, like the horizon.
I can guarantee you that Wolfie, that's the cameraman, Sean Hufford, Reg Rhetoric, Astronomy Live, all these guys, George, I can never pronounce his last name, Hunatuk.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole list of them. There's a whole bunch of guys that I haven't named, but all of those guys are genuine guys that are really just trying to put the information out there to help people out so they can understand why the Earth is not flat. They're not trying to deceive anybody. They're actually going out and doing experiments. They're actually doing observations. They're showing you how to do it for yourself. And that's really all it takes. If you go out yourself to the causeway, all right, and you go take pictures where I took pictures, you just won't be convinced that it's a flat Earth anymore. I mean, it can't be any more intuitive than the video I just showed you of New Orleans, or of the causeway. This video right here, it can't be more intuitive than that, man. I mean, this is exactly what we expect to see on a globe, and that's what we see when we do it. When you go out and actually take pictures and photographs, you see horizons obstructing whole cities.
Not after 8 miles. Like
that's 24 miles away. Actually, the New Orleans shot is 27, 28 miles away. This shot right here is 27 to 28 miles away. All the objects in this shot right here. New Orleans is way inland. It's not even on the edge of Lake Pontchartrain. So I mean, that's a long distance right there.
Yeah, that's a long distance.
And the same thing with planes. Planes under the horizon. that I haven't shown you. I mean, this video right here is of airplanes that are flying towards me. They're flying towards me. This airplane's flying towards me right here, and it's still 300 feet in the air whenever it goes below the horizon right here. It's not perspective. That right there by itself, that observation by itself, defeats perspective. It can't be perspective because the thing's getting closer. The object, the airplane is getting closer to me as it goes under the horizon.
It's getting closer to you as it goes under the horizon?
That's right.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay. This airplane right here is flying into New Orleans International Airport. It's flying towards me. You can tell it's flying towards me because the red light is on the left wing and the green light is on the red wing. And this is the landing spotlight right here in the front of the plane. So it's flying towards me. This horizon right here obstructs that airplane when it's still 300 feet in the air.
Because it's just like my lighter video shows. There's that sweet spot where it disappears bottom first over that point where you can still see past that and it drops off to a point. Its altitude when it's back over there isn't 1,600 feet in the air, dude. It's only 400 feet up in the air, 300 feet up in the air. It's coming down slowly at its regular radius. What you're seeing is that blind spot that I was trying to tell you about earlier in my video. There's a brick and a half missing from the video where my lighter starts off at the beginning.
This is what I suggest you do. You go to Home Depot, you get your little laser level, shoot it across your concrete, and you'll see where the homes are.
That's fine. Like I can do that too. But I'm telling you, it's level. It was an apartment complex. Like it's completely level. You can do it yourself.
Concrete and roads are not completely level. I mean, I don't know who told you that, but that's just not true.
It's my brother's backyard. It's his patio.
Yeah.
But I'm not. You can do it yourself with the camera from my perspective.
So when they build houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially patios, they build them so they have a slope, so that the water doesn't run into the house. It runs away from the house. What I would suggest is you go get a laser level and prove it to yourself. That's the only way it's going to work. Nothing I show you is going to work.
That would probably explain why it's sloping down that way, but that's not a bump in between me and the thing of my perspective. Like it's not in between the line. Yeah. If it was unlevel that way, it would affect it. But because it's not, yeah, sure, there might be a gradient that goes for drainage or whatever. I don't think that one is because it's concrete and it has those cracks that the water drains into. But just say that it is fine. It's not the horizon is still flat. It's still a flat plane, and that's what I'm saying. Like it goes below the flat horizon.
I hear what you're saying, and I don't see any evidence for what you're saying. So, I mean,
that's
people want to tell you that people want to tell you that the Earth or that the flat plane has this magical property where it can obstruct things, but that's not how perspective works. That's not how the atmosphere works. That's not how anything that we know about works, and there has not been given to us any alternative explanation that can explain it. There is no model for it. So it's basically just a bunch of gurus sitting around coming up with stuff to make money off of people. That's all it is to it.
How is anybody making money? None of us are making money.
You don't think Jaron and Globebusters and Flat Earth Core, you don't think those guys are making money? You don't think that these guys that do this full time for a living now don't make money off of it?
There might be a few people, but we're talking about millions of flat earthers, dude.
It's not millions.
Yeah, it is.
If there were millions of flat earthers, there'd be millions of views on every flat earth video, and there aren't.
There's millions of views, bro. Fucking, I'm maybe not all on one video, but yeah, there's millions of views on fucking all of them all together.
Let me ask you something. Why do all of the observations that we make map to a globe like this one right here?
That's what I'm saying. Like you said, they do, but they don't.
They do.
They don't. They map to the same thing that we see on a flat plane. Like, that's not. It's not just specifically to a globe that it could work.
Okay. I'm not going to just make a claim and not back it up. So I'm going to show you that they do. Okay. Walter Bislin built a 3D model of the globe and a 3D model of the causeway. He put a lot of work into it.
Okay.
And what he does is he flies to the locations in his 3D model where I took photographs. And then he overlays my photograph. So let's see what that looks like whenever he overlays my photographs.
All right.
Well, I should have gone one more step further. Here's the first one right here. All right, so here's a 3D globe model, so we know for sure that that's shaped like a globe. And there's my observation. It lines up with it exactly.
Okay.
He goes through a whole series of my observations and shows how they all match the globe. So our observations do, in fact, map to the globe model. The globe model makes predictions about what our observations should look like. I go out and make photographs. Slice Barkane makes photographs. So does Wolfie. And all these, a whole bunch of guys do. It's not just those guys, but it's a whole bunch of guys that are all taking photographs, and they're putting them on these models, and they match. Okay? The only observations that I've ever gotten from flat earthers are ambiguous stuff like Isle of Man, where people blatantly lie to people, tell them they're at a certain height when they're not. And in the entire time that they're showing these observations off, the observations have clear obstruction in them, which cannot happen on a flat plane. You keep claiming it can, but you haven't provided a mechanism for how it could happen.
Perspective, I guess. Like, I mean, there's nothing else I can.
It can't be perspective. It cannot be perspective, because perspective deals with things moving off in the distance, like this right here. Okay, this is what perspective is. This is an observer right here, and this is their field of view on this object. And as that object moves away from you, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But at no point does this line of sight right here and this ground ever cross. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller off in the distance. And if you, it'll go to a vanishing point. That's correct. It will go to a vanishing point, which the sun doesn't do, and neither does the moon. Neither of those things go to vanishing points.
No,
and
they
so
go over the
they go over the horizon is what they do. They don't go to vanishing points. They're supposed to be moving away from us, but they don't.
Well, they're not
And
moving that far away because they're going over the horizon. Like when they're that far, like if they were to go back farther than they are, than their circular motions above us go, if you were to go back farther than they are, that at a certain point that invisible area would become visible. It would become that visible point again. Like that's why we see background. Like we see our horizon, and then we see the background or whatever. That should be past our vanishing point.
there isn't a specific distance to a vanishing point.
No.
There are objects. Objects have their own vanishing points, and it's based on their size and your angular resolution. And that's it. There's nothing about the math. There's nothing about just common sense that would make us think that parallel lines should ever cross. That's the point you're missing. If the sun is flying over the top of our heads parallel to the ground, then at no point can its path and the ground path ever cross. That can't happen.
What are you talking about?
Talking about the sun and the moon as they are supposed to be traveling over a flat plane. If the moon,
the boat goes over the horizon.
so does the moon, and so does the sun. They both go over the horizon.
Yes, but now we can zoom in on a boat and it's back again.
Okay, you've said that a number of times. I've shown you that that's wrong, and I'll show you again
How can you say that's wrong? That's not like you know that it's out of the fucking out of the perspectives.
No, it's gone far enough away that they can't see it anymore. It doesn't mean it's gone over the horizon, and neither has the sun or the moon. That's the whole point. How can the moon, 3,000 miles above a flat plane, ever go down over the horizon? Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't go down. Our parallel lines intersect at a point.
Okay. Imagine this scenario with me, okay? I'm going to draw a straight line from the top of the moon to the horizon, parallel to the ground. And then I'm going to draw a straight line from the bottom of the moon to the horizon. So now they're all parallel, okay? The line from the top of the moon to the horizon, the line from the bottom of the moon to the horizon, and the ground are all parallel. As the moon moves away from us, okay, it has to stay within those parallel lines that are drawn from the top and bottom of it. That's how parallel lines work. That would mean it would have to shrink as it moved away from you, and it would eventually have to. It would never get far enough down. That would never appear close enough to the horizon to where you'd ever lose sight of it on a 25,000 circumference Earth, like you said.
Yeah, no,
it can't get far. It can't get far enough away. As a matter of fact, it doesn't matter how high the moon is. If the moon is 30 degrees above the horizon, okay, it has to be half the size that we see it every night when we look at it when it's 30 degrees above the horizon.
Because there's glare. When it gets farther away from
there's no glare off the moon. You can see the moon. It's not glare.
No, it looks like it's bigger than it is, just like the sun looks like it's bigger than it is when it gets close to the horizon.
It's the same exact size. You can measure it. It changes by the angular size of the moon changes more than the sun, and it changes by the amount predicted by our model.
How is that?
What do you mean? How's that? We can measure it. The model makes a prediction. It says it's going to shrink by this much, and it shrinks by that much when you measure it.
Because the sun has been anywhere from 10,000 miles away to now the calculations work out that everything in between from 20 to 100 to a million to 1,500,000 to 1,900,000 to like, dude, the mathematical calculations have worked out for the sun being every single distance away for the past 200 years, dude.
It's not every single distance away. It's a range of distances, and they're very close to one another.
It's only worked out.
Do you know how they measure the distance to the sun? Do you know how they do that?
No.
See, this is what I don't understand. You don't even know how they measure the distance to the sun, but you want to say it's not that far away. Why?
It's geometry in the shadow of the sun. I know how they say they do it. I don't know.
It's actually very easy, and it's not even hard math. It's just the Pythagorean theorem, like you were bringing up earlier.
All right. Well, it's a different one. Like, it's not something I focused on. But
yeah. I think you should research that. How do they measure the distance?
I researched what they thought that the sun was, how they've calculated it throughout the years, and it's changed drastically, and it's always worked out. Always.
It hasn't changed drastically.
Research the history of this. Just take my word for it or don't. Research the history of it.
I already know the history of it. That's what I'm trying to tell you how they measure the distance. They wait for Venus to get it at half phase. Okay, they measure the distance to Venus. This is how they did it historically. They measured the distance to Venus with radar, and then you draw a right triangle between the sun, Venus, and Earth, and then you work out the calculations. It's like very basic trick, and it's going to be around 93 million miles away. Whenever you work out that very basic, it's not even trick. Let's see what the chat's been talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're just chatting amongst themselves.
All right.
I need to run through perspective math, and I don't think that's going to be beneficial right now.
Not at all. That's too much. I wouldn't even understand. No, right.
Okay, yeah. So Alecatrace made a good point. It's not a vanishing point. It just gets too small to be resolved. Vanishing points are meaningless in 3D space. I mean, yes, technically that's true. So, I mean, things don't vanish. Things don't actually vanish. If you have a strong enough magnifying glass, you can see them. They just get small enough to where they can't be resolved by whatever device is detecting them. Typically, your eye. So your eye can't see things once they get too far away from you, and you can't resolve it anymore. Unless it's a light. Light, you can see a light a lot further away, but it's still only like it resolves to a single point instead of.
But when you're talking about ships over the horizon, like you don't see that it gets too small. You see that it goes over the horizon. But
You keep saying that, but it's not true. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I've never seen an observation where you have, say, you have one camera. Let's say you have a P900 set up at like a quarter of its zoom power, and you actually watch a boat go over the horizon, and then you zoom in with another P900 all the way, and it not be over the horizon. It's just not going to happen.
It's just common sense, though. Like for it to get out of view of that perspective, then it has to have gone over the horizon.
No, it doesn't. If I took a penny and I started walking away from you, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact distance. I haven't run the calculations, but I'm guessing at a mile or 2 miles, you're not going to be able to see the penny in my hand anymore.
A lot sooner than that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just throwing a big number out there. 1 or 2 miles, which before the horizon, you're not going to be able to see the penny anymore. That doesn't mean the penny went over the horizon.
No, but I'll see
it
it.
just got too small to see.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Like I'll see if it's big enough. I'll see it go over the horizon.
You won't, though. I can be standing out there, and you can still see me feet up to my hand where I'm holding the penny above my head, and you won't see the penny. That's the point. Like, it hasn't gone over the horizon, or else I would have to be over the horizon.
No, the penny's too small to see.
That's right.
Yeah, the boat's bigger.
It's the same concept, brother.
Well, you can see it going over the horizon.
You're not seeing it go over the horizon. You're just not seeing that.
We're at the beach and we're sitting on the beach. We make the observation that the boat goes over the horizon.
If it's a small boat, we've already been over this. I mean, I don't know why we're talking about it again, to be honest. If it's a small boat, it'll just get too small and you won't be able to see it anymore.
I don't know if that's true, but like it could be true. But when we're talking about a large boat, it goes over the horizon from your perspective. The horizon is empty. How does the horizon get empty when you can zoom in and find the boat?
Hey, Flat Out Hero, I'm getting a phone call from work, so I'm gonna have to end this.
For sure, yeah, it's been too long anyway. But yeah, I'd be willing to do it again next time if you got some time. Then.
All right, man. Thanks for coming. Talk to you later. Bye.